Hello and good evening. Welcome back to the AfriCanadian Resource Center. This is one of the many broadcasts we're going to be bringing you for the next 3 months, as I've been saying for the last few nights. Tonight is day 4. And we are going to bring you a member from the Eritrean community where we visited this week, and we wanted to learn more about their community as we're doing with many other communities over the course of the next 3 months. We would like to first thank you once again for joining us. We know sometimes during these times, during COVID, finding time to be able to actually sit and actually watch something such as our program can be difficult. So for those of you who find the time to follow us, we really appreciate you. We ask that you continue to share, to let other people know where they can come and learn about the AfriCanadian community resources and different programs that are available. Before I can actually start and introduce our guest, the interview that we did this week, I wanted to talk about something that is in the news, and that is that we are in Toronto. As you know, COVID, which was supposed to be ending, is returning. We are sort of going back into this chaotic pandemic again, where we're trying to plan for the recovery, but we're not so sure right now. In the news today, for example, there was a letter to Premier Ford by the mayor, who calls for 6 actions that will help to put in place quick programs that will include early closure times. So as you can imagine, it's very difficult as it has been, but now we're going to even go back to that time of going home early, further physical distancing, restriction requiring customers to stay seated at all time, which is, again, these are all things that even just being able to move around without these restrictions, it's been very difficult. But we're informing you now that these are the measures that the government, the local government, is looking for. And obviously they are looking to make sure that everybody's hope. And it is our job as a part of this platform to provide you this information, this news as we go along, because sometimes we're so busy, we don't have time. So if you happen to just be here, just know that we might be facing more restrictions in days to come. Anyways, let's go and hear from Jonathan with our interview that we did this week. So, like, how many people, how many Eritreans do you think are in Toronto?
If I go off the top of my head, I'd probably say between 10 to 20,000.
And that's just.
But don't quote me on that. But yeah, just the Eritreans. Yeah.
Even for the Rwandan community, we don't really know.
Yeah.
Like, we have no idea how many people, so I get it.
Yeah.
So ideally, like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
What do you think, what's the majority of the work that most of the Eritreans do here in Toronto, like overall? So
a lot of service-based work, okay. PSWs,
okay.
You know,
and
taxi drivers.
PSW, you mean?
Like personal support workers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Taxi drivers, different type of maybe custodial services.
Okay.
I think when it comes to the younger generation, it kind of gets a little bit more diversified, okay. Just because, you know, if we came here as young kids or we were born here, you know, we're Canadian, okay. So we got a world of opportunity, right? So
for you guys, it's not the traditional, like you're saying, like support work, or, you know, mostly I've seen a lot of like East Africans focus on like taxis.
Yes.
You know, having like parking downtown.
Yes.
Like a lot
yes.
of Ethiopians,
yes.
Eritreans are
definitely a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would probably say that that'd be more for the, you know, like my parents' generation, yeah. Who, you know, probably came here in the 90s, early 2000s, and you know are a bit older, maybe didn't get a chance to get educated. Those are kind of the opportunities that are out here for them. But when it comes to, like, you know, the next generation who may have been born here or came here really young as kids, like, you know, it is a much broader pool. I know, you know, people in finance, yeah. People in education, okay. You know, healthcare.
Yeah, and I know you yourself are more focused on like real estate.
Yes, I think there's a lot of opportunities.
a message from the Government of Canada.
So Jonathan, one of the other things that we are really trying to understand is how are the continental communities doing during COVID? What has you as an organization, as an individual, been doing during COVID? But also maybe talk about what the community is feeling like during this time of COVID.
I mean, COVID hasn't really discriminated against anybody. And so just to answer your first question, on an organizational level, we were able to get a partnership with the Red Cross to secure funding and provide free PPE for the community. During COVID, I mean, it was really incredible to see like a lot of youth stepping up. There was a group of young adults who came together and started a solidarity fund where they were able to raise over $40,000 and then reallocate those funds to people in the community in need, which was massive. We've had our community partners in Art and Health do a food box program where they delivered culturally specific foods to the community for over a month. Created employment opportunities. So on a community-based level, it was really powerful to see, especially the new generation, young adults coming in, stepping up and taking responsibility.
And that is the non-for-profit area, the grassroots area.
Grassroots, yes.
Yeah, but now looking at the condition of the community overall, right? And I know it's hard to tell living in Canada because we're sort of we're all over the place. We're scattered, if you might say. So you can't really tell how a community is affected until you see an individual. But to your base of knowledge, how is the Eritrean community doing during COVID compared to the usual conditions within a community?
I think that'd be difficult to answer. I don't know how exactly I would answer that, but COVID has just kind of made it more difficult for everybody. Housing is definitely a big problem for a lot of Eritreans, especially new settlers coming in here, having to be forced to move into shelters or other, government accommodations. A lot of individuals who are either in the taxi or parking industry, couldn't work because no one's moving around, so that's massive loss of income. Granted, the Canadian government's also stepped in, but it's I think where we are as a community, situations like COVID, it makes it much worse. It
makes it difficult.
It makes it extremely difficult.
You mentioned how it's been difficult for everyone, but then for the African community it's much more difficult. And I think it makes sense because for many of the jobs you mentioned that your community does, it's not something you can do at home. Most, like if you are in media or whatever, you can go home and continue working. So you have to depend on the support of the government, which you're right. The government has really been very good in terms of like the SAB and EI. That has been, to me, if there is a top 10 or top 3 in terms of government response, Canada has been one of them. But other than that, for you looking forward, how do you think we come from this as a community, on going back to the grassroots and organizational level, and I'm including myself? How do we come out of this and take the lead instead of like almost like starting from scratch like we did in 2008, for example, when the market crashed? How do we actually make sure that this is different as a community?
Continuing to support, the work that's being done, especially, being tapped into the grassroots space. There's a lot of people doing amazing things, and I think as long as these organizations continue to persist and the community decides to support them, the sky's the limit.
So Jonathan, all right, we welcome you back. So you just heard from Jonathan from the Eritrean community, and one of the things that you heard about his concern, or at least what the community within the Eritrean here in Toronto is that many of the people usually end up doing the same have the same challenges in terms of what people are doing. So we're talking about whether it's taxi drivers, all this service work that during COVID can be sort of put on halt because there is no way that the whole idea of social distancing and even what I just talked about with the news about Toronto now being able going back into closure because of the pandemic that is about. We hope that it's not coming back, but it looks like it might be. So listening to many people in our community and going and seeing what's going on in different communities, you can tell that there is so much that still needs to be done, whether it's the services or whether it's just us making sure that we are careful not to take this virus lightly. So because a lot of communities are suffering, and the Eritrean community is no different. So one of the things I also wanted to mention, it goes back to one of the luckiest thing we have is being in Canada, is that we have a lot of support, whether it's from local government or federal government. So like for example, today we heard from the there is a program from the government of Canada which is meant to continue the financial drain, which was announced by the Trudeau government, and it is supposed to extend the federal wage subsidies into the next summer. That is incredible for many companies that are right now facing those hardships, not being able to make payments. So this is also announced along with the over $1 billion that is supposed to support national homelessness. Again, a lot of people are going through so much difficulties, so to have these kind of programs, it very much helps everyone. And so we hope that you can all learn how to cope with it. One of the reasons why we're here is to help you to learn from what other communities are doing. And one of the best way that I would like to transition right now is to bring you this incredible lady from the Malian community. It is an interview that we did earlier, and we wanted to understand. So transitioning from the Eritrean community, now going into the Malian community, but she works more not necessarily within the Malian community, but the black and African Canadian community. That is Fanta. Go ahead, Fanta. All right, Fanta, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Would like to welcome you to the AfriCanadian Resource Center, and really appreciate you for joining us on a short notice. And welcome you again. Ask you. One thing I want to ask you to begin this, Fanta, is tell the audience who you are and what you do in the community.
All right, thank you very well, Likam. I really appreciate this introduction and then the invitation from your organization. And as you know, my name is Fanta, last name Ongoiba, and originally I'm from Mali, and I'm working within African and Caribbean and Black community in Toronto toward HIV/AIDS. So the organization is Africans in Partnership Against AIDS, and that means we are doing HIV awareness within our African, Caribbean and Black communities in Toronto. And also we do prevention by doing outreaches and also preparing and presenting activities, toward the prevention and the awareness around HIV/AIDS to our African Caribbean community, but mostly African communities living in Toronto, affected or infected by HIV/AIDS. That's work I do in the community.
That is amazing. And how long have you been doing this work? And also, how long has your organization been active throughout the community here in Toronto?
Likab, this is very excellent question, and the organization is old by 27 years. So that means since 1993, the organization is around and dealing with HIV/AIDS within the community. And I'm part of the founders of the organization, even though I wasn't that active at the beginning of the establishment of the organization, but the organization exists since 1993 and have been incorporated since March 1994. and
Wow,
I'm the
that's
executive director of the organization. Yes.
Okay, incredible. So you do the work obviously with the HIV awareness, as you just explained, and helping people living with HIV. But also I notice part of what you do is you help people who speak different languages. Tell us more about that. What kind of services are you providing? Because one of the things for the RCHC that we want to highlight through this AfriCanadian Resource Center is how can we communicate with our people, most of them who are new in Canada, who find it difficult to communicate either through French or English, but speak their mother tongue. Who are the individuals that you focus on, and do you maybe do you have the capacity to maybe reach the entire African Canadian, or is that even a mission for your organization?
So since the establishment of African in Partnership Against AIDS, we focuses on language barrier, as we are African and immigrant. So when you come in a country where you are not originated, of course you will encounter a lot of challenges. One of them is the language barrier. So by creating this organization, we, as a member of the Africa, we made sure we're gonna include the component of multiculturalism and multilingual issues our mandate. So at APAA here, we have variety of languages, and as you know, the continent is vast, and then even within one country, we have a lot of dialects. So, but what we did is to focus or maintain the main language that is being spoken in Toronto here, being multiculturalism place. So we made sure that in our staff team, we have staff who can speak one or two African languages in order to help our fellow sisters and brothers who will immigrate as refugees or as even a visitor that, you know, they need interpretation or they need orientation. So at APAA here, our staff are multilingual staff that we have. Me, myself, I speak more than 7 languages, African languages, right? So I will be able to more people in terms of language issues. And all of our staff speak at least 3 languages or 4. This is the minimum. So we made sure that we will cover that area because of immigration purposes and the service that we are delivering. As you mentioned, some people don't speak English, French. So if French-speaking person comes into our door, I will be able to help. If I'm not there, I have another staff, which is the community development coordinator that is bilingual, will be able to help. So we make sure that we have the resources, human resources, to help out. And people will not going to be frustrated, saying, or worried or fear of not having services in their own language that they can understand and they can speak well or comfortable speaking. So this is what we do here at APAA, and the service that you ask, we provide multiple services regarding people living with HIV/AIDS and then affected by HIV/AIDS. So families, men, women, children, youth. We have a department for that. We have outreach. We have activities that we organize throughout the year for them. And then, as you said, is COVID-19. Since COVID-19 started, people have been confined. Being isolated is not helpful for people living with HIV/AIDS. You know, they were coming to have chat with people, having support group, you know, doing activities and being with people. But with that difficult moment and then the pandemic moment, it's not easy to do that, and it's not even possible to do that. So what we did is we cannot be face to face in the same environment, but technology is there, which is like virtual communication, Zoom or telephone, or email, we continue doing our activities in order to maintain them and be active, and then lift the heavy fear that they have in mind, because already their immune system is compromised, and then adding COVID-19 on top of it is a lot for one person who's living with HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, I would imagine for most people who are having any form of sickness, they have to be they have to take extra caution during this time of COVID. But for someone who is living with HIV, knowing how the immune system is really broken down, I can imagine how even the fear, the being afraid just to be affected by this disease. What are the conversations? What are the discussions among you and your people and stakeholders, members and patients? I don't know if you would call them patients. What are the conversations around this the COVID stigma?
The conversation is like how to understand the stigma around any disease, not only COVID, any kind of disease, you know, but the stigma is more HIV than even the COVID, right? So we talk about the stigma by doing virtual conversation, chatting, asking, how are you doing? How do you feel if you meet me on the street and then the person change? How do you feel about it? Do you think if, you know, finger pointing, discrimination, what do you think about that? So we provoke questions there to get feedback and see how people are feeling about this COVID-19. Yes, at the beginning, even myself, when I was walking and then I'm meeting somebody, the person changed the route. Before COVID-19 comes in my mind, okay, what's wrong with this person? That's the first impression that will human being, right? But we tend to get that, no, it's not like changing route because I'm black or changing route because I'm X or Z. It's because something is here to take precaution. You never know. At COVID-19, even now, they don't have vaccine. They don't even know how to deal with. Sometimes you have your inside internal stigma that can haunt you, you know, more than the external one. We talk about that, we chat about that, our clients, and by doing that, it released them and say, oh yeah, I was feeling that, but now that you are mentioning it and you talk about it, I feel good. So it's not like I'm black, that's why, or it's not because this person think I have COVID because I'm wearing mask. It's not because of that. So people get to understand the sense of it, and then, you know, slowly leave the idea of stigma around COVID-19.
Amazing. My question now is for people who and who are interested in your services, where do they go, and what are the kind of people that you're looking for during this time of COVID? Because I'm assuming that the capacity, the ability to reach out, to be at the office where you can actually accept people hour per hour as you usually do is no longer there. What are the people, what are the people that you're looking for right now? But also, where can they reach out to in order to, because you just mentioned you speak 7 languages. And anybody who speaks that many languages, I'm sure there's so much you can provide. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we have somebody who's healing, we have somebody who speaks Hausa, we have somebody who speaks Fulani, we have somebody who speaks Bambara, we have somebody who speaks Jula, you know, we can name it. And
I can come in and speak in Rwanda too, right?
And Kiruranda.
Yeah, Kinyarwanda or Kirundi.
All, each part of our continent, I have somebody who can who can speak. So this is among staff, and then plus volunteers who gave their time for free for the organization because they believe on the cause and then the work that we are doing. They also speak multiple languages, so we have a huge resources to help out. And then during that COVID-19, you were asking the question like, how are we doing to reach out our clients? We have the database, and then we call them, we ask their need, they will let us know, and we fulfill that. Some of them are okay to come in the office, but using the precaution, hand sanitizer, mask, glove, and then we help them by providing food hamper, and we help them also by providing emergency financial, support, and yeah, you can name them. So we cannot meet face to face, but we are doing our work non-stop.
Okay.
Change the way, the routine, the way we do the delivery of the service.
I mean, we have all had to do that. As you can see, you and I were supposed to meet. We were trying to come and do an interview in person, but obviously because of the challenges of COVID-19, we have to do these kind of interviews. But we would really love down the road, hopefully, if we were allowed to come and visit, so you can show us around. You can demonstrate to the audience what it is that you do exactly.
Inshallah, when this pandemic will be invite you to our office and have on.
Amazing. Okay, also your website, somewhere where somebody can actually go and learn more about your organization.
Yes, our website is like www.apaa.ca. You can visit that, and we have Facebook also account that I don't know by head to give you the information, but you can find out on our website. And if people want to contact us on the website, you can email us, and we will respond to you as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Fanta. As I said earlier, what we are trying to do is reach out to as many African Canadian communities and people who serve African Canadians and gather as much resources, or at least highlight the people with the resources so our members can know where to go. So we are so privileged to have you here today, and we look forward to come and visit you in person.
Thank you for having me, and then I will be more than glad to have you in person, inshallah.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
People living with that type of stigma.
Thank you to Fanta and the Africans in Partnership Against AIDS. That was an interview we did earlier this afternoon. And of course, the beat that followed was a beat to help end the stigma against AIDS. I feel like, just listening to that, I'm ready to, anyways. I think one of the things that we are learning from all of these visits, and we've only been going for the last 3 days, today was our 4th day. One of the things we're learning is that everybody's finding a way to cope with this challenge of COVID-19. Of course, we know about the anti-discrimination, and to add to that, is what I was even talking to Fanta about earlier. For all of us who are healthy, all of us who have our life in order, all of us who can actually say we wake up and go back to our daily business, to now imagine someone who is going through the challenge of AIDS, somebody who has their entire immune system broken down. How do you cope with such a thing? Because one of the things I never really thought about until today was, and I think I felt that when I was talking to Fanta, was those people who have a weak immune system, who are begging and they're like, you gotta put on your mask, whatever, like whatever the regulations are, when they feel like whatever we need to do to keep each other safe. And then for me, obviously it's sometimes challenging to find yourself in the confinement of your home, and now you gotta confine within yourself by wearing a mask. But think about the people around you. Think about someone who is living with AIDS, who knows that just a little bit of, if they catch the disease just a little bit, it might be the end of their life, because already you have a broken immune system. So knowing that, and of course now talking to Fanta today, understanding the challenges that these communities go through on a daily basis, these are the resources we're talking about. If you need someone who can help in those areas, if you're interested in, maybe you're new in Canada, in Toronto specifically, because that's where APAA is based, please go ahead, visit them at apaa.ca, because again, I think any bit of information is better than none. So it's why we're here, it's what we want to try to do. And of course, if you like what we're doing, so also we're asking you, we know our following is not where we want it to be, but that's fine, because what we're trying to do is continue to bring you this information. One day, whether it's next week, somebody's going to come and find it, and it's going to be useful for them. So if you can actually continue to share, comment, let us know. Actually, you know what? This is one thing I want to do as a challenge. If you have a member in your community that you want us to cover, the way we did today with Jonathan, if you have a community member like Fanta that we just talked to, if you have anyone that is in the community that you feel like we should highlight what they do, let us know. Send us a message. Go to our page, AfriCanadian on Instagram. Go to YouTube. Go to Facebook. Let us know. We will come there any day, Monday to Friday. We'll come and cover your business. We'll cover even your profession. We will make sure we understand what is your community, what are they doing, and what do you actually stand for? What are you doing during COVID? So please, if you have anybody that you would like to champion right now, send us a message, let us know, and we'll come and talk to you, because this is what we are here to do. We're here to learn more about each other. We're here to take what you know and share it with the world. And of course, if there is something we can give you in return, that is what is called reciprocity. Anyways, I would like to go to another commercial, if I would, and then I'll come back with the rest of the program.
A coronavirus is a type of virus that can infect the respiratory tract, meaning the nose, mouth, throat, sinuses, or lungs. There are many types of coronaviruses, and most cause only mild illness, such as the common cold. But some coronaviruses can cause severe illness. The most likely way people can become infected is by droplets that contain the virus. These droplets carry the virus into the air and can enter through the nose, mouth, throat, and lungs of a person who is within 6 feet or 2 meters. The virus infects the lungs, causing the lungs to become inflamed. The alveolar sacs have to be healthy for the body to breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Infection of the virus causes damage to the cells of the lungs and triggers an inflammatory reaction. Fever may develop. With severe inflammation, inflammatory fluid fills the lungs. This reduces the function of the alveoli, resulting in coughing and difficulty breathing. The oxygen level in the blood may decrease. In some people who become severely ill, other organs may be affected, such as the kidneys or the heart.
Welcome back. Tonight, and one of the things we're going to continue to do over the course of this program is to give you a little bit of information, news, what is going on, at least what attracts our attention throughout the world. Here in Canada, earlier I told you about what the Mayor of Toronto is looking to do, asking for more extended time, more earlier closures, creating more further distancing, and of course having less people in combined areas. Of course, the government of Canada, the Prime Minister announcing further programs to help people who are going through these challenges, including homeless people. Another news that I found today that I found it interesting was, and it's not just interesting, actually, it's something that I can't wait to see. Hopefully it happens within my lifetime, and that is what Nigeria and South Africa and many other Africans are asking for. That is to reorganize the United Nations so we can have more members. And because right now, as of today, there is only the US, France, China, Russia, and the UK as the only permanent seat members on the Security Council. So if you imagine where we see UN go throughout the globe, but also the power that is within that entity, yet there is only 5 members who make the final decisions. You know, in 2020, we've got to ask ourselves, what are we trying to do? Yesterday we had a young lady who was talking about uniting each other for humanity. I think the adults in the room have dropped the ball for too long. And I think today, and in the days to come, hopefully this 2020 has been a reminder for many readers across the world. You're gonna die like everyone else. Your life is gonna end. And what can you do? I know, because I like this. I have somebody that I follow on Instagram. What's his name? Jerry. Is it Jerry? Gary P. Oh man, Gary. I almost messed up your name. The only message he always says is, you're gonna die one day. How do you want people to remember you? Do you want to have changed the world? Or do you want to have contributed to the mess that many of us have been born into? I say this, even if you're one person that's listening, take that step and join South Africa and Nigeria. Let's change this UN, whatever you want to call it, the United Nations. Let's change it, you know? Let's give the power to everybody. Who is the US and Russia and China to decide for the rest of us? We need to be on that sitting table. We need to be in that Security Council, and I don't care how long it takes. I would like to see it before I die. Anyways, that is just one of the news that I saw that I thought was interesting. But of course, me putting my own spin to it, it is important. It is important for us to be concerned about the state of the world, but also to be involved in the decision making. And I think Africa needs to take a step forward and say, you know what, enough is enough. You know, our children, we have to decide for ourselves. Anyways, what I wanted to do right now, and just to share a little bit about my journey, I feel like the other thing we wanted to do in this program is provide what I call my healing corner. We will be bringing you people who can either do poems, sing, any talent that we have within the community. But what I wanted to share with you as a part of that component is my own journey of healing. And I'm not specifically going to go back into history or the journey that I went through, whether it's through my PTSD and things like that. But I want to talk to you about dealing or living with PTSD and waking up one day and realizing that everything is going to be all right. I think around 7 years ago, I was able to overcome PTSD. Many of my friends who knew me then knew, or at least found out later, what I was going through. What they didn't know during the time I was going through this was the challenges that I was facing every day. Not being able to wake up and see the world like everyone does. Not being able to see yourself in the mirror. Sort of looking at the world and thinking, what am I still doing here? Getting to the point where you want to kill yourself. But then one day you wake up and you say, you know, I might not be strong enough to kill myself, but surely I am not strong enough to live this way forever. What can I do? I was lucky. I found people who helped me. I was lucky I had friends around me who encouraged me, or at least cussed me and be like, yo, get your shit together. I was lucky that I had a family that always was with me, even through my challenges. And I was lucky that I actually got the strength to wake up one day and decide to share my story with the world. to tell you the horrors of PTSD, the horrors of mental health, the horrors of anxieties and depression. When I was going through it, I never imagined telling anyone what I went through. You know, I remember telling my friend one day about how I could not eat around the people, how most of the time I would consume food, I had to throw up. I remember telling that story for the first time. And after I said that, I so had that relief. And after that, I continued to share my story. I continued to tell people about the things that I had gone through, because I knew that just talking about it gave me strength. Talking about it allowed me to empty all of this garbage that had grown throughout the years. And 2016, when I rejoined my community and decided to raise awareness on PTSD, it wasn't because it was something I was proud of. It was because I knew that there were so many other people that would go through things that I went through. Like today, I talked to some of my friends and we are able to discuss this in our own private conversations. But we know that there are people who are not able to. So if you're one of those people, one of the things I would like to say to you during this quote-unquote my healing corner is, please share your story. Learn from others. Reach out to me, I'm here, I'm available. Talk to me. Talk to anyone else who is open to listening. If you feel like there are people who do not want to, because that's another thing too, when you're going through this, you really want somebody who is open, who is listening, who is always there. I might not be always there, but if I'm there, if I'm open to listening, know that I'm going to be listening to you 100%. Now, sometimes we think we know it better because we've gone through it. Forgive us. If I if I show like I know it better, if I give you advice or opinions or something that I feel like you should do and you don't feel comfortable, I ask that you forgive not just me but all of us. So please, make sure you open yourself up. Share with the people you're comfortable with, and let's all help each other heal. As I said, this is my healing corner, and we hope to have more of this. Let me go to another story. That is one of our stories. That is one of our stories that we're going to be continuing to share as well. It is the comic series, the introduction of the comic series that we want to do over the course of the next 3 months. Thank you.
I've been trying to do my very doing. I've been looking for us in the fray. You're the only one I've been expecting, but you're again the one who ruined my plans for what we've been doing, for what we can do. We know about the dreams, we're over again. Ain't you gonna see my arms are open? What you keep on saying? Oh.
Coming straight up out the gutter, man, I plenty stacked that butter. Raised like a man, so when I talk, I never stutter. Look into my eyes and you will see a born stunner. Prolific, on the grind, bopping Nipsey. Making my wishes come true and I ain't got no genie. KGL City sometimes feels like a jungle, and screw being humble. I'm wilding out like an animal. I'm coming for and taking everything I never had. That's what I'm aiming for, shooting for. Everybody hit the flow, beast mode. I feel like King Kong, knocking towers down. I'm out here trying to eat. You niggas fasting like it's Ramadan. I'm skinny but my pockets are getting fat and hit your bone K. You looking like a prayer and it's predators walking out here. You praying for a miracle? Get up and put the work in. I'm working, I'm searching, reaching for a gold mine. The ball is past the goal line. The game has got no half time. Hey, I'm a king, that's all I know. Take a look inside my bloodline. I'm a soldier trying to go. Pushing, 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 pushing past enemy lines. Whoa, I'm a king, that's all I know. Whoa, take a look inside my bloodline. I'm a soldier trying to go. Pushing, 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 pushing past enemy lines.
Do my very doing. I've been looking for sin to pray. You're the only one I've been expecting, but you're again the one who ruined my plans. For what we've been doing, for what we can do, we know about the trips, we're over again. Aren't you gonna see my arms are open? Won't you keep us there?
Say her name, Breonna Taylor. This is another piece of the news that obviously that's in the news right now, where we found out today that in the US, no officer has been charged. Not only that, to add an insult to injury, one officer was charged for hitting, what did they hit? For hitting another resident, but for walking into someone's home, killing someone in their own home, you go home free. That's America. That's the world right now. Black lives obviously don't matter. No matter how we say it, we need to look at it from a different approach. For what we go through, and I talked about this yesterday, and of course I just talked about, well, the healing requires listening. Obviously, the US is not listening. I don't know what we need to do. This is not a government challenge. It's not a government issue anymore. It is more about the friends. Who are your friends? Are they concerned about the things that are happening here in America, in the Americas? That police officers can kill people and go home free. Can this happen if it was a different color? Maybe, but we don't see it often. Not when it's mainstream. When it's mainstream, every time it's mainstream and a black person is killed, the offender, if they're white, they happen to go home free. I think the approach needs to change. I think in America, black lives not only that they not matter, I don't think they are not counted as equal. I think we're still looking at the black people as half human. And maybe that's something to look at. Are we still using laws that were passed during slavery? When were they ever amended? Have they ever been amended? Anyways, say her name, Breonna Taylor. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned that before we close tonight. It's hard. It's hard to, I try a lot not to go into this because I know how much it can be, especially for me. I'm a very sensitive person, so when it comes to taking on the world's problems, I usually shut down and just focus on what I need to do. But every once in a while, you got to turn and see what's going on and what's happening to the black world in America. I don't know. It doesn't require the government anymore. I think it's about us as people. We need to go and find out who our friends are. If your friend is not as concerned as you are, maybe you need to ask them if they are still your friends. To me, that's something we got to look at, because governments have their own missions or something else they're looking to do. Anyways, let's go. We'd like to close tonight by telling you about what we're going to be covering tomorrow. Obviously, we're going to continue to cover the African Canadian community. We're going to continue to talk to African Canadian members, leaders. And I ask you again, if you know anyone that would like to appear on our program, if you have any artist, anybody who would like to appear on this program to do a piece like what I just did, well, not necessarily that, but if you have an artist, if you have somebody who wants to perform here, please invite them. Also, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear from our program, whether it's the information or what I bring to you on a personal level, please share our work with your friends. Share it on social media. We're not big on social media, but we intend to be soon. Anyways, I would like to leave you tonight with our very own platform, which is what we are working on. Something we are working to develop so we can have our people, we can have the continental African Canadian communities have a communication platform, a resource platform, somewhere where we can go and get these kinds of information every day, not just Monday to Friday, not just between 6 and 5, between 6 and 7, but whenever we want, with our own people, doing our own research, doing our own studies, reporting and talking, and really bringing this information to you from the African Canadian perspective. Have a good one, and I'll see you again tomorrow.